Welcome back to another episode of This Week in ZA, the podcast where we dive into the world of software engineering over a slice of pizza. I'm Kodad, here with my co-host Chad on the other side. And every week we sit down with a guest from the industry to talk about culture, projects, and everything in between while eating some great food. Today's guest is Andrew Rush. He is a biz guide on our business development team here at Don't Panic Labs. We are eating the Chipotle barbecue chicken pizza from Ramos, again, to continue the season 2 theme. So stick around to hear some great insights, share a laugh or two, maybe get a little hungry. So grab a slice, let's dig in.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, real quick, we want you maybe to do a little introduction of yourself. Mm-hmm. So everybody's aware, we always refer to you as our unpaid intern.
Yes, that's me.
But maybe do a little introduction to yourself, and then kind of, what is your biggest mistake? Like, what's the thing that really stands out as a good, really embarrassing moment you would never want to tell anyone?
Oh, okay. Career-based?
However you want to go with.
Okay.
Now, some people go career, some people make it personal.
Okay. There's a lot to choose from. I even made a mistake yesterday that was pretty funny in one of our co-creations. So, okay, let me think back to when I came out of college. My wife and I had just gotten engaged, and we were getting ready to get married, and so we moved out to Kansas. That's where she's from originally. And
I didn't know if maybe you thought you had to move to Kansas.
Had to move to Kansas.
For getting married, you got to go to Kansas.
Yes.
I didn't know that. New rule.
So anyways, we moved out there, and I was going to work for my soon-to-be father-in-law, to save up some money, and then, get married, and then we were moving to Lincoln. Anyways, so that's the backstory of what got me into this position. My father-in-law sells seed for Pioneer. He's an ag, and I am a small-town kid, but I'm not an ag kid at all. Sure. Never grew up on a farm. Had friends that did, but never in that scene.
Yeah, there's a few of us out here.
Yeah. So, anyways, I started working for him, just helping around at the shop, and I was probably like a month into this, and he had to go. Jeff is his name, my father-in-law, and he had to go run to something else and needed to drop off some seed, and it was what's called a pro box, which is this giant box that fills like 2,500 pounds or something like that worth of seed. Mm-hmm. And so he needed a pro box delivered to a small town. And he pulled up, he was like, I'll just give you directions real quick. He pulled out Atlas, no GPS for this run. Mm. And so he points, he's like, go up.
McNally?
Huh? Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And so anyways, he pointed out, he's like, yeah, take this oil road here. Oil road, I don't even know what he's talking about. I was like, sure, yeah. I have to be confident. I have to pretend I'm confident. So he goes, take this oil road here, cut over, you'll find their farm up here. I was like, okay, sounds good. I'm stressed. So I get in the truck, I start driving. He told me kind of like some land markers to look for. And I came up on where it should be on the map, right? Like, this is where this road should be. And I was like, that road looks terrible. Like, no way this is what he's talking about. Because he explained, like, the road's nice, you'll be fine. I was like, but this is where it shows. I'm going to take it. So I turn onto literally a farm road that's like...
What type of vehicle are you in at this point?
I'm in a truck.
Okay.
So I'm in like a, I don't know, it was probably like a F-150, F2, but weighed down by 2,500 pounds in the back. And I know immediately I have to go forward because I'm gonna get stuck with the road I chose. So I am slamming it through someone's, farm road that's I shouldn't have been on, and I'm just kicking up mud everywhere, caked on everywhere. Eventually get through and find a dirt road, turn onto that, and I'm like, okay, I know that wasn't right, but like I think I can find out the rest. Anyways, I pull up to this farmer's house, and they, like, him and like 3 of his workers, it was like a movie scene. They all just like got up and like walked over, like, what is happening? Why is this truck literally caked in mud? And I'm not kidding. I was going like 50 to not get this thing stuck because I couldn't have my father-in-law send me on a work thing and then come out and have to pull me out of who
Day
knows
one.
what.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I got out of the truck, pretending like nothing was going on, that I didn't just cake this whole pro box in mud as well. Delivered it, and they're like, what road did you take? I said, I was up by the oil road, and they go, you were on the oil road. Go a little further. Sure enough, I took the road I was supposed to back. It was like brand new road, super nice. Drove all the way in and got back to the shop, and my father-in-law was like looking at me like, what happened? And it was to the point where I feel like that farmer probably called him. I was like, what the heck was that? Like, who is this kid? So anyways, trying to impress a man that I just asked for his daughter's hand in marriage, that added an element of stress to it. I was trying to think of just, work-related things. That was a good one. Yesterday, I guess since it's timely, we're in a co-creation, and it was asked, does anyone have a favorite protein to name? So, I spent 9 years in biotech, in a startup in biotech before coming here. And so anyways, I knew enough to be dangerous, but then when he asked the question, who has a favorite protein to yell out, I was like, we didn't work in proteins, but I think I know a name one. Mm-hmm. So I gave the name lanolin. Okay? And then the guy looked at me confused and was like, what is lanolin? And I was like, oh crap, I totally messed this up. So anyways, I quickly go to Google, right? As one does. I type in lanolin protein, and it said, did you mean laminin? I was like, probably. So I click on laminin. That was the protein. I was like, okay, I was close. Well, Tim Frisch, who's one of our designers, was also sitting in the room, and he starts laughing. I go, what? And he turns his computer around and shows that lanolin is a cream for breastfeeding mothers. So it's like, I totally name dropped this, and I'm like trying not to like just completely lose it because it was hilarious. But that was a timely mistake that happened just yesterday. So every day I'm making at least one or two.
I was thinking of lanolin like sheep's wool, like Anchorman.
Yeah. Lanolin. So, yeah, that's true. I should have gone with that. I wish Tim would have Googled that part. Yeah, goodness.
It's pretty good ones.
So, I don't know if, did I cover that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you worked at a biotech before coming here?
Yeah, background. So, it fits right in. Got married in Kansas. My wife was a teacher and got placed in Lincoln to do student teaching. And so, we knew we were moving to Lincoln. I had no clue what I was going to do. Got hooked up with a startup in the biotech space. I was there from the beginning, and then spent just over 9 years there, and then ended up here. So,
Cool.
Very cool.
I need to try this.
Yeah, you need to start eating.
Okay.
Yeah.
The rest of I'm done with a piece by now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Look, what have you been doing? Come on.
That's a great point.
Get your head in the game.
The reason we do this podcast is to eat pizza while everyone else talks. So.
Yes. Yeah, we're just here to eat pizza.
Yep.
No, it was pretty good.
Yeah, this is where we rate the pizza now. Mm-hmm. So as you're eating that, start thinking about how you'd rate it.
Okay.
I'm always a fan of their crust.
Their crust is always fantastic.
Their crust is always fantastic.
Mm-hmm. The barbecue brisket pizza is very much like this one.
I agree.
I didn't know how much it would be the same when I saw it was barbecue, but
yeah.
So to explain our rating system, because you're gonna have to rate it before we talk too much more about our opinions.
Okay, sounds good.
0 to 10. You can go into the 10th decimal places if you want. Some of us choose to, some of us don't.
I do not.
Anything like 0, 1, 2 is usually like, this is gross, I don't want to eat it. Anywhere from that 3 to 5 is kind of like, it's fine, because most pizza's still very good.
It's an okay frozen pizza.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Those 6, 7, 8s, that's like, okay, this is good pizza. I like this. I enjoy it. I'm having a good time eating it. And the 9s and 10s is usually the like, I'm gonna keep eating until I hate myself. I'm not gonna leave any leftovers. Kind of like champion tier pizza.
I've had a couple 4s and 5s pizzas that I've treated like a 9 and 10. So
That's situational pizza.
Yeah, situational pizza. Yeah, I've been there in my life. So, okay. I think it's good pizza. It almost always has good crust.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about quality. I'm not usually like, I like barbecue pizza. It's not my go-to.
Sure.
I like more spice, like, I don't know, buffalo or jalapeno.
I like buffalo a lot.
Yeah, so that's usually where I tend to go. But I would say that's why it can't be a 9 or 10 for me. It's just it wouldn't be. But Maybe like I'd say a 7. Give it a 7.
For me, this is where, like, again, my lack of going to the decimal places is going to work against me. I feel like I need to give this one a lower score than the brisket.
Okay. Do you remember what you gave the brisket?
I think I gave the brisket a 7.
You gave the brisket an 8.
Oh, I did. Okay, then I can go.
I actually have the scores pulled up this
Okay,
time.
so I can give
I
this
brought
a
receipts.
7. I do feel like this has to be less than the brisket. I think the brisket was, without question, better.
Sure.
But they are very similar.
Yeah.
In flavor. I think a lot of people would like this pizza. For a barbecue pizza, it's good. There's nothing amazing. I could stop eating this. This isn't most certainly in that 9 and 10s, but I think a 7. It has to be a little less than the brisket. I think the brisket was better.
Can you taste the bacon in this?
No.
I feel like it just needs a little bit more bacon. Would maybe put it on par with the barbecue brisket. I do taste the onion a little bit, but there could probably be a little bit more onion
Yeah,
too.
there could be more onion.
Or you put jalapenos on there.
Yeah.
Or you put cream cheese on there. And then it would elevate it above brisket for me.
I'm with you.
But I'm in that same vein of like, it's very barbecue briskety, maybe just slightly below. I do like the heat of the chicken. So I feel like if it just had a little more bacon, a little more onion, just a little tiny bit more, that spiciness of the chicken would carry it through. So I'm also going to rate it slightly below the brisket. I gave that an 8.3. I think I'm just going to give this one a straight 8.0.
Okay.
A very good pizza. I would very happily eat a lot more of this.
I'm not going to complain if someone gives me this. It's a good pizza. Just in my opinion, not quite as good as others.
Now there is garlic dipping sauce in there, and
We
don't
have to
know
try
if that's
that.
for the pizza or if it's for the pretzel bites. But I think we have to try it on the pizza
I
before
agree.
the end of the episode.
I agree.
And if we want to revamp, we can revamp.
I was gonna say, can it adjust the score?
Well, Chad and I can adjust our scores.
You can't.
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
you're locked.
You're
You
done.
know, I'm pretty.
You don't
I'm
get to
okay
finish
with the
that piece.
7.
You're done.
Yes. And part of it comes down to like the Casey's taco pizza, one of my favorites. I do think it's significantly better with the taco sauce that comes with it.
That's what I say.
If you wouldn't have the taco sauce, I would give that a lower score.
I agree.
So,
That's fair.
You ready for your next question?
Let's do it.
All right. This is the part of the show that we call the people want to know.
Okay.
So these questions are generated by our audience.
Good.
It's not my question, so I can deflect away if it's a bad question.
Do I get to know who asked the question?
No, it's anonymous.
Okay.
Anonymous surveys.
Okay, good.
Definitely not just me.
Good.
So, Andrew, the people want to know, given your experience with a huge variety of clientele, right? We're in consulting. We get a ton of people that walk through the door. They've all got different ideas. Some are successful. A lot are not. The people want to know, what's a common thread you see about maybe the attitude or the approach or the resources, whatever it might be, of those successful people that come in the door wanting to build custom software. And then maybe some things that you also see with the unsuccessful people that come in the door trying to build software.
Sure. I think that a big part of being successful in any industry in trying to innovate is don't be in love with your solution, be in love with the problem. That's a huge, what comes with that in what we see in a lot of people that succeed is they're willing to adapt, they're willing to learn, they're willing to be educated, hear others' opinions, be collaborative, trust the, part of what we do in gaining that shared understanding with our partners through co-creation, they're also needing, the ones that are successful need to take that time to also vet us out and see if they can gain a shared understanding about what we do. Sure. The more collaborative it is, I would say the more successful we can be. But it is definitely being open-minded enough to know that like maybe the way you're thinking about it isn't exactly how it should be. Now a lot of times another thing that sets people up for success too is they've gone down this road and vetted it out. They've talked to people. They've already started that process of, I think this is a good idea. Hey, so-and-so that works with me, would you use this as well? Already starting to kind of network and plan and see, is there a market for this? When they start going down that road, that's helpful. That gives us an idea of, how committed they are to the product they're trying to create. But again, if they're in love with the problem they're trying to solve, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get the problem solved, not just get their solution built, those are the people that we see really succeed.
Sure. I think that makes a lot of sense. I do feel like there's a lot of people that they're in love with the way they want to solve it, and they haven't considered what anyone else thinks about it. Mm-hmm. It's very often like, I have this problem, I know how I would go about solving it, but I haven't talked to anyone about it.
Yeah.
and I can't get off. Like, I can't think of any other way. And I'm reluctant to kind of consider someone else's point of view on that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, like, software. So my background's not in software at all. In fact, when I spent 9 years in biotech, when I was looking for a different opportunity, I told myself, I was like, I'm not going back into a technical space. Like, I'm not a technically minded person. And then
What was your college for?
So my undergrad was business communications.
Okay.
And then I got an MBA.
Okay.
While I was working the last job. So, so I knew enough to know that I like talking to people.
Yeah.
That was basically, I should have thought a little bit more, maybe put a little more thought into my schooling, but I was like, when I went to school, I was like, I knew I was playing, this was 50, 60 pounds ago, but I played soccer in college. And so I knew I was going to play soccer, and I knew I liked talking to people. I'll figure out some path. So I picked the most generic major of all time, business communications, which is fine. But
That's football for our international audience.
yeah, yes.
And a lot of football players take business communications as well.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So, anyways, I'm not technically minded, and I got to the point I was looking for maybe some other opportunities, and fell in love with the culture we have, which is truly meeting people where they're at and giving a genuine approach to try and help them. Because in the startup world that I came from, there's a lot of people that will be like, oh yeah, great job, we'll absolutely help you, like reach out, whatever you need, we're here for you. And then you reach out and you're like, hey, we need you. And then they're like, there's crickets, right? And so not everyone,
It happens though.
It happens.
Yeah.
And so when I kind of heard the idea of what we do here, which is, really trying to meet people where they're at, meet with them multiple times before we even build out an estimate of what it would cost them. That approach to show, hey, it's not about the money, it's about bringing your innovation to life.
Yep.
That really drew me in. I don't remember what I was saying before that, but
How did you find DPL? Right? Because we
Yeah.
were in very different spaces.
Mm-hmm.
How did you bump into Don't Panic Labs?
yeah. So Allie Custer, who is one of our engineers here, so her husband Kevin, he and I grew up together and went to high school together at York, and so Kevin was working through a partnership of economic development and he knew a lot in the network, and so. He was one of the few people I kind of trusted on letting him know, hey, I'm going to start looking for some opportunities. And a few weeks later, Kevin called me and was like, hey, where my wife works actually has an opportunity. And
That's cool.
And Allie jumped on the phone. And before this, Allie and I had never talked or met. Obviously through all the social medias, I knew that Kevin was married to this person, Allie, but I didn't know her. Allie's awesome, obviously. So she jumped on and was like, yeah, let me tell you whatever I can do to help. And here's what I like about the culture. And
That's kind of funny.
yeah, so that's how it worked out.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Has coming from not tech, have like your views of the world, the views of like the technology you use day to day, like has any of that really changed? Like has your brain chemistry kind of rewired after seeing kind of the nuts and bolts of all these shenanigans we get into?
Yeah, that's why that takes me back to where I was going earlier, which is like what also makes people successful in this industry is they need to bring their industry expertise in with them, but also understand that software is a completely different animal. So also being willing to understand that because software, as we know, is always changing. Always, we have to be on top of it, and so they have to become software product owners, not just product owners. And it's a little bit different. So I started seeing that right away where I was like, that this is a little bit different what we do here. And this industry is a little bit different what it does. But for me, one thing, knowing that I'm not technically minded, and most people around me in my workspace are, I started thinking of ways like how can I at least catch up enough to where I can be productive, right? So that was kind of like my my thought patterns. So when I started early on, I started building out this this definition sheet on ChatGPT, and I was just like, I'd be sitting in a meeting and be like, I don't know what these guys are talking about. I'd pick words that sounded like a software term, and I'd throw it in ChatGPT and I'd say, add this to my definitions list. And anyways, this thing grew out to like, it was crazy. It was like 165 words or something that I had captured.
Made up.
Yeah, captured definition. Yeah, exactly.
Because Chad was in the meeting.
Yeah. Just making random words up.
Yeah. I stopped adding Chad's words. That was a rule.
Yeah.
So
That's its own list of 160.
yeah. So I asked the ChatGPT to give me a definition and then give me like a short description afterwards. And some of that helped, but then I was like, this is still not enough because I don't have this background. So I repurposed all 165 words or whatever it was and copied it, threw it back in, and said, explain this to me like I'm 5. And then all of a sudden, I started understanding software. So that was, what's cool about that is, and I noticed this a lot in my previous job, is, trying to explain genetic traits and microbiology and things like that is hard to do and that was the last company I was a part of. And software can be that way too. And so what I realized in talking with some of our partners is, and I told them about what I was doing, and one of the partners, an alum of This Week in ZA, Bo Jones, he was like, hey, I wish I would have had something like that when I was starting out. And it clicked. I was like, we need to do something to utilize this for, partners coming through the door that are early stage entrepreneurs that have never been in software. There's going to be other people that have no software experience. And so we were able to, Russ helped me create this awesome 42 software terms book. We narrowed it down to 42. There's still a lot of terms out there, but trying to find ways that I look at things and knowing that other people around me look at things differently and meshing the two to make sure we have a coverage of anyone that walks through our door. Like, that's something that I am passionate about and trying to figure out ways to do that. So it's, I don't know if I've changed my approach, but I found new ways to blend my approach with the industry and our company too.
What's of those 42 terms? What's the funnest of those terms? Like
the funnest of those?
Yeah, yes.
Funnest.
Yeah.
Funnest.
Maybe I need to add funnest to the terms list.
You could add funability, but we don't talk about that often. But that's.
So for me, it was like production and understanding that it's in production, right? Means that it's out there.
Yeah.
Whereas in other industries, it's like it's still being made.
That's never occurred to me.
It never occurred to me until Bo Jones brought that up. To him, production meant it was being built.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then not only do you have that, but you have prod, right? Or like you have these abbreviations and all these things too. So yeah, it was. I feel much better now than I did a year ago when I was looking around. I was like, I don't even know what to say.
The very first time I heard that, and ever since then, I've always wondered now, is production the wrong term?
Maybe.
Because it's like, for our world, it's okay, but if you're interacting with anyone from a variety of other worlds, it's going to be a bad term.
Yeah.
So it does make me, for quite a while, I've always been like, maybe we should be using some different. I haven't. I keep using that term, by the way. But
Well, it's the industry term, right?
It is, but it's very confusing for people from a variety of other fields.
I think I need to read this book now because I'm probably not thinking of these things that I take naturally as like, how do other people interpret these things outside the industry? Production,
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's
What's
a
another
really
one?
good
What's another one that's going to be kind of fun for people?
41 more, go.
41 more.
Let's see.
This could be its own podcast.
Yeah, I actually
do
think
a word per episode.
A word per episode.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Don't continue then.
Yeah. No.
Oh, sorry.
No, we got it. I want a second word.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. That's a fake one of those. That wasn't real.
No, don't. No more words. Pick your favorite.
Pick your favorite.
Okay, if it's talking about fun, it was funny to watch ChatGPT when I asked it to like explain it to me like I'm 5.
Yeah.
And it would go with themes. Like if I ran the list through, it would be like, okay, now it would be like on a toy theme.
Yeah.
And so it'd be like, all right, now think of this as being the train, and this is the tracks that it runs on, or like.
Oh yeah.
And then the next time I would do it, it would take a totally different theme. So that was kind of fun too, to just be like.
Yeah. That was a lack of a word. I win.
That was a lack of a word.
Team Kodak. Framework.
Framework. Yeah.
Framework.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, okay. Front end and back end.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those are terms that like
Make no sense to anyone outside of us.
yeah, a little bit. It makes sense once it's explained, right? Like here's what you're seeing versus here's what's everything going on in the background to do that. But it's used a lot of different ways, and so
Yeah.
or at least it came off like it was used a lot of different ways.
is.
You don't because you don't know what all goes into a back end. You don't know what all goes into a front end. So
Why is the word end in both of them? Why front end and back end?
I don't know. But like
We need a
in
new
front of house,
podcast.
back of house, you think of a restaurant.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
Yep.
still house. Why
Yeah.
end?
Yep.
And then, I know as you're saying this, I also haven't thought about better terms there. It's a little bit of that iceberg principle. You can see a lot of stuff on top, but underneath there's
Yes.
often much more going on. You can only see this little piece of it. The irony here is the customers, or you're working with people, they seem to care a lot more about this, the front end, the visible piece.
right.
But there's still a lot more to go on, and often some more critical stuff is below. And actually, the more you can shove below the surface, the better off you're going to be long term. So there's kind of this weird, the more that is visible or is controlled in that front piece is going to be a problem for you long term.
And you can tell too, like people that have the software background, if it's a partner that has software background, you can see how excited they get about some of the back end conversation, right? Because, like you said, for the most part, people want to see the front end. They want to see the mock-ups and everything of this is what it's going to look like. These are the gadgets we get to play with.
This is what I see. This is how I interact with it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that
but
form,
the back end knowing this is where the sauce is made, right? Like, it's fun to kind of analyze that as well.
Cool.
So, yeah.
See?
My mind's blown. I've been in this industry for 23 years. I never thought about production.
Yes.
Ditto.
It being built.
Yes.
Oh no, that's just out for the world to use now.
I just threw a prayer to God because I was like, what terms are on there? When you asked me that question, I haven't looked at it in a few weeks, so it's been a little bit of time.
That could totally be its own podcast. Just getting a layperson not in the industry and being like, here's a word.
Go every
How do
tweet.
you think this is used? And just like digging into like why we call it that and how. And with somebody not in the industry being like, oh, well, maybe this, maybe that. And,
I like this.
huh.
So if you go to any of the teams channels that are for like a early stage entrepreneur,
Uh-huh.
and we've put them on most, but those ones, at least the newer ones, if you see this is a tab that's added right away, but it's 42 software terms.
Okay, I have seen that tab. I never actually clicked on it.
Yep, this is that book.
It was
So,
great.
so Russ did a ton to help me with this, but again, we stuck with the definition and then like a quick description, and got it to 42 terms. And then the end, what I really wanted to do with this and made sure this was a part of it is I wanted them to have the ability to continue building on their own list.
Sure.
So I just put the process on here towards the end. We put it at the back to say, hey, if you want to continue to add to this list, like this is how I did it. in
Oh, you just
ChatGPT.
heard a new word you didn't know? Okay, this is what I did when that happened.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
Make 43 if you want.
Yep.
And maybe someday we'll print a book.
Yeah, have you blasted off about this? How come I haven't heard about that? Did you bring it up at stand-up or something? I think you absolutely should.
You know, I don't talk about anything I do. Ann was telling me a couple weeks ago, she said, you just did a perfect profile. You should share that with the company.
All right. Russ gets a dedicated slide every week now.
Yeah.
No,
I'll bring that up. Everyone will love that idea.
that's a terrible idea. See, look, you need to drop food.
All right, so next segment.
Yeah, do you got one more question?
I do have another one.
I got one for the outro.
Okay, you have the outro? Okay.
I have the outro, and then I've got the post-outro question.
Okay. Let me see. I think we're good.
You take one before that, and
Let
then
me just make sure how much time we have.
20 minutes left?
Oh, yeah, I'm okay. All right. All right. We've kind of hit on this a little bit, but you kind of have two different startup worlds you've been part of. Mm-hmm. Kind of like you to maybe compare and contrast. What's been different between the two? What has been kind of a little surprising between, kind of biotech versus software? Software is a little weird in of kind of how it behaves and things. So I'm kind of curious on your thoughts of what you've seen as the differences.
Yeah. I mean, the main difference is what side of that I'm on, which is now I get to be on the side that helps those that were going through what we were going through. Because being in the startup world, so when I started there, I was second person hired. So it was the founder of the company, an engineer, and myself. And you do everything. From
Now you were the second person hired. Mm-hmm. Does that mean you're employee number 3 or you're employee number 2?
I was employee number 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just counting is something software people are pretty particular on.
Are you zero indexing this?
Yeah, are you zero indexing or one indexing?
It was a true zero index. I was always referred to as employee number 2 when it was
The founder
ever
was
brought
not
up.
employee 1.
Right.
Interesting.
Ah, okay.
True zero index.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Yep.
Was the founder a software person?
No.
That would have been ironic.
Yeah.
No, I'm zero.
No, his background was in genetics, and he's one of the best people and most brilliant people I've ever met. It was fascinating to watch his brain work for 9 years.
Future guest.
Yeah, you should have him on.
Yeah.
It would be fascinating. So, anyways, I was second person hired. I was basically hired to be the office manager, but a lot of that was just like, bookkeeping and things like that. But then, credit to his name's Abe, my former boss. Like he saw something in me and started bringing me along to a lot of the things. It's where I met Dave.
Yep.
Like
My
Dave,
brother-in-law.
Yeah, Chad's brother-in-law was our general counsel for our company, and Dave was like one of the first people I met externally from the company itself. And I'm just a kid sitting in there and trying to absorb as much as I could, and that environment lasted for 9 years. I ended up taking over operations. I think at our largest we were like 32 or 33 people, and through that time we only had like one other business hire. Everyone else was technical, like in the lab on the biology side or in engineering, and then we brought on a CEO who was also a business hire later on. And so, like, I was in HR, accounting, taxes.
Running the business.
Well, yeah, we were. Yeah, I was involved in all that, so I got to see like the back end,
yes.
right? I got to see the back end of
Yeah.
of startup world and what it takes, and like the overhead to get it even off the ground, and some of those things, and tried to absorb as much as I could. And what I've noticed now, being in an environment that we try to help these early stage companies, is I have a little bit of that knowledge that I bring with me to really see, like, understand what they're going through to get all this up and off the ground, not just the software side. So when
software's only a part.
Yeah, absolutely. You're building a business, not just a product. Most times.
Yeah.
Most times. And so what does it take to do that? And again, speaking to the genuine approach that Don't Panic has had well before me, we're not just looking at how can we help you with building this product and then sending you on your way. How can we help educate you and also connect you with the people you need to connect with, or teach you on some of the business things, and making sure your objectives align with the product you're building. That approach is what makes me love doing what I'm doing. So,
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. I think that probably wraps it up this week. Andrew, thanks for coming in. Oh, did the garlic sauce change your opinions?
No.
Yeah, I think it's pretty samey.
Yeah. I didn't think the garlic sauce, I love garlic sauce. It's like one of my favorite things with pizza. I don't think that had enough flavor to overcome the other flavors.
You didn't shake it up.
Okay. I wanted more flavor out of it.
You gotta shake up the garlic pack. You can tell you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember my first garlic pack.
What is that? Unbelievable.
You didn't get to choose. That didn't. We decided that didn't affect your score.
I didn't even try it because it
Couldn't affect your
couldn't
score.
affect my score.
Yeah, it was a good decision.
All right. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Leave a comment below if you don't forget to shake your garlic sauce. Like and subscribe if you want more content from us. Ring that bell for a notification when we publish new episodes. Andrew, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
A huge thank you this week to Russ. He's the only other person who got a mustache going. He got the notification that we were doing mustaches. These two failed. And just a huge thank you for doing everything to make us look and sound great. We appreciate all the time and effort you're putting into this.
Yeah, thank you.
Tune in next week where we'll try another pie. Andrew, we didn't ask you for a pizza recommendation.
Oh yeah.
If you had to recommend any pizza for us to try on a future episode, what would it be?
is it wrong?
Doesn't have to
with
be
the
It
Rainbows.
doesn't have to be, but it would be convenient for us.
That's true.
Okay. Oh man. How many Rainbow's pizzas have you done?
A little under half.
Okay. Have you done pepperoni and cream cheese but adding the hot sauce?
No, but we're not going to do any additions initially, but we'll probably do a second round through the menu. with
Okay,
additions.
that's a good one.
So we're going to add jalapenos
Oh,
to
yeah.
all of them.
Have you
Spicy season.
With cream cheese.
Yeah, season 3 is just everything the same with jalapenos and cream cheese.
well, adding like a buffalo sauce is pretty solid to that specific pizza.
Oh, yeah.
And then Vic's is right down the road from me, and they do a couple pretty interesting pizzas that are pretty good.
We haven't done a Vicks for the podcast.
Yeah, we haven't, have we?
But Vicks is good.
Yeah,
I've had a
Vicks
few
is
of them
good.
that were very solid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyone particular from Vicks as a favorite? Yes.
Yes,
The first one.
but I can't but I can't remember the name of it. But I can get you that name.
Okay.
Add suspense.
Yes. At some point.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Oh man. So, okay. So playing soccer specifically, a lot of my teammates were international. Like a lot. So you're like when I played the 4 years I was there, I played with a gentleman who's originally from Greece that grew up in Canada. A bunch of Brazilian. A Canadian. I know. A bunch of Brazilians. Some
Brazilian of them? How many people did you play with?
Brazilians and Argentina, Mexico, like all over the place. And so the blending of the cultures, not just as people, but in the game itself, like how they play the game.
Sure.
Super fun to watch. But also, one thing that's true with all cultures, everyone loves to dance. Whether you say I don't like dancing or not, that you're lying.
The soccer players.
Oh yeah.
Everybody in general.
I think everyone in general. That's my own personal opinion. Soccer players for sure. So we would travel to somewhere in Kansas again, and then
Why are you in Kansas so often?
dude, story of my life. And so we would play, maybe like it was a 7:00 kickoff, and then we have a smaller budget. We're a small town school. Shout out to York University now. It was York College when I played. But anyways, smaller budget. So we would probably play, and then we'd most likely drive back. So we're driving back pretty late in the night, and one particular story that stands out, one of my best buddies on the team, his name was Hanan Shaya, a Brazilian kid, and it's probably like, I don't know, like not a whole foot shorter than me, but pretty tiny guy, and loved to dance. And so we were like, we got time to kill, let's make a dance party. So we were like up in the halls like of this bus that we were on, like just dancing, going crazy, and it's a Christian school, and some of the songs maybe weren't very Christian-like playing. And our assistant coach that was driving the bus was like into it, having fun, everything. Started wearing on him, I guess, internally that we were listening to all these songs. So I was a captain of the team at the time, and he like pulled me aside the next morning. And he was like, "Hey, I just was thinking about it, and like I know you guys are having fun, but I think we're gonna have to run for listening to those songs." And I said, absolutely not. There is no way we're running for this. And So yeah, those are like random memories that I have. There's another one where I watched a kid take off his cleat and throw it at another kid. Like a lot of brawling type things that you wouldn't think happen in soccer. It does.